Vincenzo'S Gold Crypto Investing this July the 9th, 2025, noontime daily cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, gold, and silver bullion update that you've come to expect, love, need, and deserve from the number one and channel that was made for you, the retail trader and investor, to join me and participate along my decade plus long mission and goal to becoming an asset millionaire as we invest in gold and silver bullion and mining stocks, 401k steady investing, cryptocurrencies, and some cash on the side for peace of mind for emergencies, buying new or accumulating existing assets when the time requires. And today I put a post out about it. The Federal Reserve is doing their interest rate Fed meeting where they're going to dictate the short-term interest rates, whether to raise them, lower them is what people want, or leave them the same. Again, which I believe they will, and so does the market, that they're going to leave them the same. And that's going to have a short-term and brief reaction on the cryptocurrencies, the stock market, and the gold and silver bullion and commodity markets as they talk today. And more importantly, after the press release, as the head criminal gangster that the president is calling for his job because he doesn't like his monetary policy of not devaluing the dollar. Um, After when he gets into his press conference, the markets will then move again. There will be an initial move, and then they'll move again based on the way he talks and the way he answers questions and the perceived dovishness or hawkishness of that conference. But I expect a lot of up and down volatility, not only in the crypto world, but the commodity markets. You can see platinum after it was down for a few days is up today. Reload that, of course, it would do that. Platinum is up after it was down. Palladium is down the last couple of days after it was up. Copper was up the most. Copper is down 4% today, but you can see it went to a new all-time high yesterday at over $5, $5.50, nearly $6 a pound. Went up about 10% on the 50% import on copper uh, things on copper products, right? That Trump said. So that obviously spiked copper. You can see the dollar has been briefly rallying the last 5 days after it got nearly a 3-year low based off of uh, not going to have a rate cut, right? It became apparent that the rates, based on the job data last week and a couple of other things that came out, there would not be a rate cut, right? So if the rate does cut, if they cut rates today, gold would go up probably $150 an ounce. The dollar would go down 2 or 3%. The stock market would start to pump, and I think the cryptocurrencies would go along with that, with the devaluing dollar. If they don't cut rates and they leave them the same, I think gold might have a brief sell-off. Cryptocurrencies and the stock market, they all might have a brief sell-off, but that's only short-term noise. Uh, and you got to keep your long-term view on things. I know I'm rambling here, but it's very important to understand that. And you can see if we go into the daily time frame, the Bitcoin price is still sitting on this consolidation, trying to dictate, is this going to be the mountain double top reversal pattern? Or is this just going to say shrug that off after this Federal Reserve news, dance around for a little longer, and then eventually start to make your way up towards the upper end of this upper resistance again, right? So that's something that we're watching today, this week, and next week, in the next month or so. Or is if they don't lower rates, is that going to be what sells this in a short-term sell-off and sends it down closer towards that $95,000 and that uptrending moving 200-day moving average, right? So that's something that we're going to be watching out for there. It's going to be very interesting and very volatile a couple of days. You can see Bitcoin dominance coming down a little bit. Ethereum is rising. And XLM did do what we were talking about the last couple of days. It caught up to XRP and did actually come all the way up here to this 30-cent level, nearly 30 cents. It's at 27.5 cents right now. And we talked about how it could get up as high as 33 cents if it pulled a similar move to where XRP was. And you can see where XRP is, how it got back above that 209 neckline support immediately from back here, right? That's where XLM was struggling for about 2 weeks down there, but did just break that. It's above the short-term moving averages now, and that's the critical thing. It's above that 25.5 cents. Again, confirmed it as not a flip and keeping it as major support. And as long as we're above these short-term moving averages here, we're bullish in the short term, and we can trade all the way up into this 39 to potentially all the way up to 43 cents here in the short term. If it gets rejected at any point and gets back below the 50 and 200 right there, or the 100 and 200, and gets back along this 25.5 cents, that'll be your critical indicator. To stay above that, you're bullish still. To get below it, you're very bearish. Upper target is 43 cents on the bullish short-term scenario to medium term. The bearish short to medium term is at 18 cents. And something that I posted on is emergency press release, Federal Reserve decision day. Today, the Federal Reserve is set to announce its next move on monetary policy to cut rates or to hold steady. Market speculation is wild, but our stance is clear. They are likely hold rates flat. But here's the real message from old Vincenzo: short-term manipulation equals long-term reality. What happens if markets react? If your assets dip on the news, don't panic. That's a gift. Buy. If your asset spikes, don't chase, stay the course. In the environment of monetary confusion and dollar devaluation, we do not trade on headlines. We invest in truth, value, and long-term appreciation. And that's what we do here uh, at Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing. And there is more to that, but it is not allowing me to see it because it is too long. But that's very important to understand that you don't trade off news and based off of news and a reaction off of what happened on a single day's news event. You go with what you've been studying, what you know, and what your long-term goals and values and beliefs are, and you stay the course, right? And that's what's going on there in the XLM price. The Bitcoin or the XRP price is in a similar area as, if we zoom out of the 1 minute time frame into the 4 hourly, as what XRP is or XLM is. You can see XRP's continued to just chop up and sideways and continued up. It pumps up a little bit, then consolidates back to its mean, and then pumps up again. And as long as you are above these moving averages, just like XLM right here, the 50 and the 100, you're bullish and you can make a run to $2.55. And right now you're right at the top of where this upper snipe sell zone's been for the past long time. It's been that way for several months now, right? So your 255 is your short-term upper resistance right now. Obviously, your major short-term underneath support is the 209 neckline support. And the thing that dictates where we're going are these two moving averages. When you're above it, you're attracted to the 255 level. When you're below that, you're attracted to the 209 neckline support. The AMP is attempting to make a confirmed short-term double bottom here, where if that did happen, you would expect a rally up near the 200-day moving average in the daily time frame. Because if we look out at the daily time frame, you can see we've successfully held again the nice bounce along that pattern support, and you would expect some kind of a bounce up near that 200-day moving average up there at 0.00452. You would expect a bounce up near there if you can continue to hold this pattern. Obviously, if you slip the pattern, you would come down here to the 0.00254 level. But I think over the long term here, I think this is the pattern that we're in. I think what we're most likely to see here over the next 3 to 4 months is a consolidation continuing, and then eventually a tightening up right here, and then that's when you have a breakout. You got to have one more peak, like you had a peak here and a peak here. You got to have one more rally of a peak, but it's going to be much, much lower, and then it's going to coil up, and that's going to be what eventually brings it to the point of the breakout, right? Come on. I think that's what's happening here, where these last two peak to troughs were 300, 400%, 500%. I think this one would be from the support might be like a 97 to 100% move. Then it consolidates there. Then it makes the breakout. So that's what I'm looking at here in the AMP. The algo is pumping up near this major upper resistance, a critical area that we talked about yesterday, the 50-day moving average at just above 18.5 cents, and that horizontal left or right 19.5 cent level right there, right? If it breaks that, it can start fighting and get short-term bullish. Hold that, and then chop your way through the 100-day and 200-day and try to come up here near the 24 cents. That's how you get short-term bullish. To get short-term bearish, you stay underneath the 50 and that horizontal 19.5 cents. And then all of a sudden, your target becomes a triple bottom here, and then underneath magnet at 10.5 cents. So that's what we're watching here in a quick rundown with the algo. The Oxyon, same thing as we talked about the other day. You can see the moving averages are overhead in the daily time frame. You can see we're sitting now just on top of or on the 200-day moving average. And if you can get above that and above this 0.01495 top part of this purple zone, if you can stay along top of that, you're bullish in the short term, and you can start to break some trends that have been to the downside. But if you stay below the 200-day and this 14.5 top part of this purple zone, you remain bearish, and your underneath target is all the way down here. If you get bullish, your upper target, which now we have to unlock and extend into the future, is up here, and then we'll relock that. Lock that. Your upper resistance is up there at the 0.02317 would be your upper resistance if you can get bullish. So you're bearish in the short term. If you're below the 200-day, is down there at 0.00795. If you can get on top of the 200-day and that top part of this darker purple 0.01495, you're bullish, and your upper target is 0.02317. XDC, you can see we've had another return pump. We're coming up in between now the 50-day that's slightly uptrending and just below the 100 and 200-day moving average. If we can stay above the 50 and then each go way above the 100-day, 200-day, then you can be short-term bullish, and you could have an upside target between this 0.9 and all the way up here at this 0.1 for an upper target. But if we're get rejected like we've done and the bearish trend continues and you get back below the 50-day in the short term, this becomes your underneath target in XDC. So we'll follow that. Remember, I expect a lot of volatility today. The same thing with the DGB, the fucking DGB. No, we don't want this. As long as you're below the 50-day and this horizontal yellow 0.00840, you're bearish, and your underneath target is down here at the 00564 from this head and shoulders topping out reversal pattern, right? Well, I thought that would change the color of that, but it didn't. That would be your technical target. Oh, right here is what we need to do. That would be your technical target there. But if you get bullish and you get back above the 50, and more specifically this 0.00840, and you can hold on top of that, then you can get short-term bullish and break through the 200-day in the daily and try to trade back up here towards the major upper resistance at the 0.01 to potentially as high as nearly the 0.02. So that's what we're looking at in the DGB. I'm going to have to let you go. This was a long noontime update. I got to get this uploaded before I have to finish my final 3 hours of this day. Peace and love. The Rock's Eyebrow. Jay. Jay.